Please be seated. The court is now back in session. Once again, the floor is given to the prosecution to continue putting further questions to this witness. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, I'd like to read to you now and ask you about another document, which is E3/1091. That's E3/1091, which was a telegram 53 sent from Psi of Zone 801 to Committee 870 on the 23rd of August, 1977. And let me read to you the first paragraph of this telegram, which states as follows, quote, "According to the decision of the party, I had been assigned to work in Region 103 for a period of time. I would like to report on my activities as follows. In a period of 10 days, I worked in 5 districts: Beng, Kulin, Sangkam Tamai, Rovieng, and Cham Kasan. I made conferences in each district with the participation of district chiefs, community chiefs, and some other offices in the districts. In the conferences, parties' political guidelines were lectured." End of quote. In your interview, Mr. Witness, you discuss a individual named Kong Chop, alias Sai. Can you tell us who Sai was?
Sai was indeed Kong Chap, who was the chairman of the new North Zone in Siem Reap. There were 101 and 103 within that zone.
Do you recall Kong Chop coming to work in Sector 103 for 10 days in August 1977, during which time he convened conferences with district cadres?
Initially, for the appointment of Kong Chap as the chairman of the zone, it was presided by Uncle Noon Chi at the time. That's how I got to know this person.
Okay, I will ask you some questions about this meeting where Noon Chea was present in a few minutes. Before I do that, there's one other document I want to ask you about, and this is E3/1144, E3/1144, and this is a telegram from Kong Chop, alias Sai, to Committee 870, dated the 5th of September 1977. That is copied to Uncle Nguyen, Brother Van, Brother Vorn, and Brother Q. And at the end of Section 1 of this telegram, there is a report on the situation of the internal enemy, in which Sai reports as follows. And let me read this passage to you. Quote, "At the bases, offices, ministries, and military offices. We have uncovered many enemies who are burrowing from within, either through the spying of their anti-revolution activities or through the implications. Those enemies who were former officials, policemen, or soldiers of the previous regime were discovered one after another. End of quote. Can I ask you whether, first of all, whether former officials, soldiers, and policemen from the Lon Nol regime were considered to be enemies of the CPK?
Through my knowledge, after the appointment of Kong Chap as the president of the zone, some of the cadres were arrested, and I gathered some of the cattle together with another handicapped person, and we took those cattle to the forest, and we lived there. We herded the cattle there, so we did not know much about what happened in the district.
Can you tell us whether during the period of democratic Kampuchea from April 75 to January 79, were there efforts made in Sector 103 to identify persons who were connected to the former regime, to the Lon Nol regime?
After 17 April, former Lon Nol soldiers and officials stayed with the cooperatives, and some were sent to various other production units. As far as I know, there were no purchase of those people. They were grouped together in various production units. That's all I knew.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. I want to now turn to the subject you referred to a few minutes ago, which was a meeting relating to the appointment of the new North Zone that was presided over by Noon Chea. Can you tell us, first of all, when and where this meeting took place?
As I recall it, at that time I worked near the sector office in Tumlop village, and of course there was a meeting place at the sector office, and in fact I was also called to participate in the meetings together with the chiefs from various other leadership level. Noon Chea made an announcement to appoint Kong Chap as the chairman of the zone, and the sectors were no longer autonomous because the zone was established. That was for the Siem River area. This event occurred probably in late 1977.
And how long did Noon Chea speak at this meeting?
The meeting lasted only for one morning. And in fact, after the meeting, there was no lunch provided to the participants. We went to eat at our respective locations, except for some cadres who came from a further distance, and some of them were given lunch at my place.
And during this meeting that lasted for one morning, how long did Noon Chea speak?
For that one morning session, he did not really speak much. He spoke about the situation of the reintegration of the sectors into the new zone and about the production, the rice production of 3.5 tons per hectare to 7 hectares, and that we all try to work hard to build dams and to raise canals and to work on fertilizer. And about the other units of appointments of the heads of other sectors were the confidential meetings where I was not allowed to attend.
At the meeting that you attended, did Noon Chea talk about the enemy situation, such as presence of agents from the CIA and KGB?
To my recollection, he spoke about that we at the base had to be vigilant because the enemy conducted their activities burrowing inside. But he only spoke briefly on this matter. But he spoke at length about the rice production and the production between 3.5 tons to 7 tons per hectare and about the organization of the zone.
And can you tell us in a little more detail what specifically he said about rice production and 3.5 to 7 tons per hectare? Was he providing rice production goals for the sector, or what was Noon Chea's statements in regards to rice production?
In order to achieve the production of 3.5 tons to 7 tons per hectare is for the transformation of the people living in the sector, so that there will be abundance of food to supply within the sector. And he spoke that the rice production by the people in the sector was just enough. And with the evacuees from Phnom Penh, it was an additional burden on the output of the rice production. And for that reason, he encouraged the increase of the production from 3.5 to 7 tons per hectare, so that people living in the area would have sufficient food to eat, 3 meals per day, and a dessert every 10 days. And that's all when he spoke about the rice production. As for the goals in order to achieve the 3.5 to 7 hectares, he did not speak about the surplus. He only spoke about the supply, the sufficient supply of the people living in the area, as in this there was no road outside where the output or the surplus could be transported through.
How did you know that the person who spoke at this meeting was Noon Chea?
Because I personally attended the meeting, and during the break, he actually made a visit through my site and my unit, and he was amongst the other people with the cook, and of course by that time I knew it was him.
Did you know what Noon Chea's position was at that time?
At that time, from what I knew and based on the announcement on the radio broadcast, he was the President of the Assembly of Democratic Cambodia.
You've also stated, this is referring to answer number 10 of your OCIJ interview, that following the open meeting that you attended, that there was what you called a secret meeting that was only attended by Noon Chea, Kong Chop, and two cadres that had been brought from the southwest zone to take over in the sector, Tak Kim and Tasaroon. Can you tell us how you knew that this secret meeting had taken place involving Noon Chea and these other persons?
In fact, I knew about that based on my analysis. I knew about the meeting at the zone level, but as for the meetings at the sector level, for the assignment of Kim and Sarun to be in charge of the sectors after the disappearance of the Hong. But I did not know the details about where the meeting took place or the number of the participants.
In that same answer number 10, you stated that following the meeting that was conducted by Noon Chea, there were, quote, a series of arrests of Bong Hong and other people in Sector 103. Can you tell us how long was it after the meeting with Noon Chea that Hong disappeared?
It was not long after that meeting was held. Hong disappeared, and the arrest began. That is the arrest for cadres in all units, including the sector office. And the family and the relatives and the children of Hong were also arrested. In fact, the arrests were not apparent as they were called to get onto the vehicle and disappeared.
For the record, Mr. President, as this witness has testified that this meeting with Noon Chea took place in late 1977, that Hong was arrested not long after that meeting. Mr. President, document E3/342, which is the OCP revised S21 prisoner list, indicates at number 220 on that list that Bu Pat Elias Hong, Secretary of Sector 103, entered S21 on the 3rd of January 1978. And at this time, I would like to refer the witness.
President, Mr. Witness, please wait. The counsel for Nuon Chea, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not quite sure what the addition of this evidence has for meaning. We are here questioning a witness, and we are here not presenting evidence. So the purpose of saying something for the record and suggesting a causal link between this meeting and the arrest of this person is at this stage of the trial proceedings uncalled for. So I move to ask the trial chamber to strike this particular part from the record.
If I may respond, Mr. President, this is something we've done before. This objection has been made before, and the court ruled that where we have relevant documents that relate to the subject matter, that this is the appropriate time to notify the court of them. This is a document that corroborates the witness's testimony and establishes the timing of the events that he's discussed. That's the reason for putting it on the record. This is something that has been done in the past. This objection has been made before and overruled.
President. In fact, the chamber has allowed this kind of questioning and the presentation of the evidence, and we have actually refused such an objection by the defense counsel previously. The prosecution, you may continue with your questioning.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I'd like to read to the witness a letter or statement that was written by Sector 103 Secretary Hong on the morning of 5 January 1978, immediately following his arrest. This is a statement in which he requests the party leaders to release him and indicates that he's not a traitor. The document is E3/2470, and the specific references that I will read are from Khmer 00296593 through 296594, English 00768226 through 27, and French 00842846 through 47. In this document, Hong wrote, quote, "My dearest, respected, and beloved party, and my dearest, respected, and beloved brothers who are the party leaders, I would like to ask you, the dearest, respected, and beloved party and brothers, to find justice for me, please. I have never had any thought, even a tiny one, about betraying the party. I have never joined in any discussions with any traders of those strings. If the party reviews my background and sees that I am not a trader, please, the party, spare my life. And in the immediate preceding paragraphs, Hong addresses the possible reasons for his mistaken arrest and states, quote, during the first assembly of Zone 801, Brother Number 2 came to preside over it. In the meeting, when Brother mentioned about the loss of tens of thousands of meters of electrical wire, I was worrying and thinking that Brother might be upset and suspicious of me about that. Also, during this year's training, when Brother spoke about the economizing idea, Brother said why the sawmill machine often stopped working unexpectedly. While saying that, Brother was glancing at me. But although I was scared by these, I never had any thought at all that I would be arrested by the party on the traitorous charge. Mr. Witness, in this document, Hong refers to a first assembly of Zone 801. The meeting that you have just described for us that Noon Chea attended, was it a meeting that was referred to as the first assembly of Zone 801?
I do not know about that. In fact, the meeting was not amongst the zone committee, but the meeting was held for all those leadership level at the sector regarding the appointment of the zone.
Can I ask you, the meeting that you attended with where Noon Chea was present, did Hong attend that meeting?
As I recall it, all the former cadres of Sector 103 were present, including Hong. And all the representatives of various offices within Sector 103 participated.
I want to turn now to a few more communications that ensued in the first part of 1978. The first is document E3/918. E3/918. This is a telegram that was sent by Zone Secretary Tsai to Committee 870, copied to Uncle Nguyen, Brother Van, Brother Vorn, Brother Q, Office and Archive, which is dated the 10th of January 1978, approximately 1 week after the arrest of Hong. And in this document, Sector 103 is discussed in the last 3 paragraphs. And let me read to you an excerpt from the second to last paragraph, where Tsai reported to the leaders in Phnom Penh as follows, quote, according to the presentation of comrades from the commune during the study session, it was made known that this year in Kre Vahir sector, in the majority of places there is starvation because there were only large quantity of transplantation but no quality, which was as a result of poor harvest. End of quote. Can you describe for the Chamber your recollection of the problem of starvation in Sector 103 in the time period of January 1978.
Through my knowledge, in late 1977 or early 1978, I in fact went to the forest to herd the cattle there. For that reason, I could not attest to the situation at the base regarding the arrest of the cadres or the combatants who were then sent to Siem Reap. While I was at the base, however, though I was herding the cattle, I could observe some situations. In fact, since the beginning in Previhir province, there had been no starvation at all. Of course, sometimes there was a mere shortage of rice in some districts, but then they were assisted by the supply from other districts. And of course, when there was a shortage of rice, sometimes people ate potato to replace the rice shortage. That's the real situation that I knew, and beyond that, I could not say anything.
You told us a few minutes ago that Noon Chea talked about increasing rice production from 3.5 hectares per acre to 7 hectares per acre. Based on your experience in Previhir, was it feasible or possible to produce 7 hectares of rice per hectare? I'm sorry, 7 acres of rice per hectare.
Through my observation regarding the production of 7 tons per hectare, it could only be achieved for the double harvest seasons with the support of building the dam. Without the water from the dam, that goal could not be achieved. Good rice production sometimes existed in Gulen district, in Chaip or Cherisan. They could achieve about 3 tons per hectare, but in the area where I worked, we harvested twice per year and we almost reached the goal. But the thing is, the area there was quite a highland area. It was different from the areas in Gulen or Banteay Mean Chey. So we could not achieve that goal. And some villagers could only harvest once per year, so the output is not that great. And another dam at Odom Lok was built, but the irrigation from that dam was not yet operational. There was another dam in Tumlop district. So for certain districts, when they could harvest twice per year with sufficient fertilizer, they could achieve that goal.
In the same report that I was just referring you to, the 10 January 1978 telegram from Sai to Committee 870, E3/918. In the last paragraph of the report, side discusses plans to go to Sector 103. He indicates that he has appointed a person named Comrade Bun Chan as his assistant at Sector 103, and he then reports to the leaders in Phnom Penh that when he goes to Sector 103, quote, "I will send more crocodiles to the organization. Please receive them," end of quote. Based on the language and expressions that were used at the time, can you explain what was meant by the reference to crocodiles that would be sent to the organization?
I did not know about the existence of this document, nor about the crocodile matter. I do not understand that issue.
I'd like to ask you a few questions about another document, which is E3/1077. E3/1077. This is a 10 April 1978 telegram from Zone Secretary Sai to Committee 870, also copied to Uncle Nguyen, Uncle Van, Uncle Vorn. And the first section of this report to Committee 870 discusses the enemy situation and includes the following statement, quote, "The base of the traders is on Dangrik Mountain. We have a plan to search and destroy it. The In Tam group previously used the traders in Sector 103, whose leader was Ah Hung. He was their supporter. But after we arrested Hung and all of his henchmen in Cham Kasan district and in Sector 103 military unit, the In Tam group has no more support." My question for you is, can you tell the Chamber who In Tam was?
As I understand, In Tam was the Sarika group at the Prasad Pravihir, and the Prasad Pravihir was in fact liberated in July. And from the liberation, that is after 1975, there was no longer the In Tam group. Only the remnants of the forces who stay in various villages, but there was no concentrated force along the Dong Rek mountain. But in fact, before 1975, before the liberation, yes, sometimes they engage in activities.
The last document I would like to ask the witness about, Mr. President, and this document I would like to present to him to see if he recognizes the names that appear on the cover page of the document. This is E3/175, which is a color copy, and also E3/3563, E3/3563, which is a complete version of the same document. If I can present these to the witness with your leave, Mr. President, I would like to see if he can identify the people who are referenced in the document.
President, yes, you may proceed. Court officer, could you deliver the hard copy document from the prosecution for the witness examination?
Mr. Witness, the part of the document I want to refer you to is the cover letter, which is a letter, handwritten letter from Zone Secretary Say to Committee 870, dated the 17th of April, 1978, which reads as follows: Respected and beloved Committee 870, I would like to send the responses of 1. San Ap alias Kun, Commerce Sector 103 in Phnom Penh, and 2. Sui alias Pong, Security Sector 103, for the committee's review and to serve as documents for researching embedded traitorous networks burrowing from within. An annotation on the left-hand margin of the document states, follow up. The document that is included with the cover letter is the confession of the cadre named San Ap alias Kun, who is identified as a Sector 103 commerce cadre based in Phnom Penh. Can you tell us, did you know this person?
I do not know the native name of this person, but I know the alias Con. Con, in fact, worked with Comrade Ping.
And was Con someone who worked at the Sector 103 Commerce Office in Phnom Penh, or did he work in Prevahir?
Response. Before, he was in Prevahir, but later he came to Phnom Penh.
My last question to you, Mr. Prum Su, before I turn over to the civil parties. In this document, number 37 of the list of persons at the end of San Ap's confession that was sent to Committee 870 lists you, Sioux Commerce Member, Sector 103. And my question for you is simply, were you ever informed by your superiors that you had been implicated by Con or by any other Sector 103 cadres?
Response. After Hung had been arrested, I had to stay in the forest, and I had no knowledge of the list. But I'm familiar with these names, the names mentioned in the list, including persons by the name of Fa and Duen. That's all.
That is all the questions I have. I thank you, Mr. Prum Su, very much for your time. Mr. President, we have no further questions.
The President, thank you. We would like to now hand over to the lead co-lawyers for the civil parties to put questions to the witness. You may proceed. Counsel Big Ang. Thank you, Mr. President. For the remaining time, we would like Counsel Benier to put some questions to the witness. But before that, allow me to introduce myself. I am Big Ang, the co-lead lawyer for the civil party, and very good morning, Mr. Prum Su. I would like to have a question for you first regarding the event in Stung San in Kampong Thom, you said people were transported by boats. How many boats were engaged in transporting them those days? Response: I don't remember having known how many boats were used to transport these people or how often they would transport them. I was in charge of distributing only materials and supplies for these evacuees from the commerce section. Question: thank you. You said that about 3,000 people were evacuated from Phnom Penh. Do you remember the age groups of these evacuees? Response: peoples were from different age groups. There were adults, elderly people, young children, and I can say that they were from all walks of lives, and indeed a mixture of people of different age groups. Question: thank you. Can you tell the chamber, please, upon arriving Kampong Thom, did you see these evacuees already had arrived before you came to receive them? Response: these evacuees came to Kampong Thom on several occasions, and the first time I went to receive them, there were only some of them, and then people kept coming, and we had to distribute the supplies subsequently. Question: when your group arrived Kampong Thom to distribute the supply to these people, what was your impression regarding the food that these people had? Was it enough? Response: when I saw them, there was not plenty of food available to them, but there was decent food, and we had to supply them with more food, and the food could be found from the river. For example, fish could be caught to feed these people. Question: I apologize. Perhaps I did not make myself clear. That's why I haven't received your response to my question. My question is, during the time when they were waiting to be received by your group, did the evacuees have enough food to eat? Response: so far as I know, there was no lack of food. Because these evacuees were better off than the local villagers in Kampong Thom during the time of the evacuation. That's what I felt. Question. How long would it take for these people to be evacuated all the way from Phnom Penh to Kampong Thom provincial town? And how long did it take for you and your group to transport them to their respective locations after Kampong Thom? Response. From Phnom Penh to Kampong Thom through boats would take some time, but how long it would take, I don't know. They were received at Stung San Hotel, where they would be further transported to Rovieng district. If our trucks did not break down halfway or midway, for example, it would take us one full day to transport them from this hotel to Rovieng district. The road's condition after 1975 was not very bad, so we could travel by trucks transporting these evacuees, although there would be parts of the roads that were not very good, but in general the condition of the roads were acceptable for transporting the evacuees. Question. Were evacuees who were being transported to Rovieng classified into different groups or types? Question. Response. In Sector 103, no classification of people would have been made because they were well assisted and they were placed to live together with the base people, and I could see an atmosphere of harmony was in place. People, the new people, the base people could live together in a harmonious way. So when they fell ill, then they would be helped by one another, and when food was not enough, then they would be assisted by the commerce section, and there was no difficulty at all. Question. I have a final question about this evacuation again, and this last question is, what was your impression regarding the livelihood of the evacuees, the time when you saw them at Kampong Thom, and have it compared with the condition you noted when they were transferred to Rovieng cooperatives? So my question is more about your feeling about the living condition. Was it different the first time you saw them and 2 years after? Response. For those evacuees who were not sick during the time of the evacuation, they had no big problem. They were more like base people, and the problem was only seen in one of the incidences where a group of people were transported to a new village, a completely new established village where these people were placed helplessly, and they encountered a lot of hardship there. That's the only incident. Counsel Pick Ong, thank you, Mr. Witness. I believe that with that I have the very final question, please. Before I hand over to my colleague, you said that Sector 103 was an autonomous sector. If we compare Sector 103 to other sectors with the center, can you say why Sector 103 named autonomous sector? Response. Sector 103 was an autonomous sector that is not answerable to the center, or rather not answerable to the zones like other sectors. For example, sectors 103 or 106. Sector 103 was directly responsible to the center. For other sectors, they had to report to the zones and then to the center. So I think this is the simple explanation why Sector 103 was autonomous. Counsel Pick Ong. Thank you, Mr. Witness, again, and thank you, Mr. President and Your Honors. With that, I would like to cede the floor over to Counsel Binier.
Thank you. Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning to everyone in and around the courtroom. Good morning, Mr. Promso. My name is Baini Ye. I'm one of the International Civil Party lawyers, and I just have 5 minutes to ask you very few questions. My first question is following up on what Mr. Ang just asked you. You said that the people from Phnom Penh encountered hardship only when they were transferred to this new village, where they had to do plantations. Can you tell us why only the new people from Phnom Penh were transferred to this new village and not the base people?
Response. 98% of the evacuees were placed in the old village, but the experience, it was part of the experiment by the Khmer Rouge to start the new place where people could be made to live, and it was part of the trial. For example, they would like to place these new people in the new areas to see whether these people could live there or not. But after experiencing some hardship, these people were transferred back to live with the normal cooperatives.
Thank you. You also said that the people from Phnom Penh had to leave Phnom Penh because of security issues. My question is, did you see any people from Phnom Penh go back from Sector 103 back to Phnom Penh in any point of time during democratic Cambodia?
Response. During the democratic Cambodia, evacuees would not be allowed to return to Phnom Penh. For example, during this period, people who were evacuated to Previhir never returned to Phnom Penh. until 1979 or after 1979, when a huge number of them returned to Phnom Penh. But some remain in Preah because they got used to living there already.
Thank you. And now my last question concerns the Cambodian students who came back from abroad and who were sent to Sector 103 from Phnom Penh. Do you know why these students were sent to Sector 103 from Phnom Penh?
Response. For those people who belong to the petty bourgeoisie and other classes, they did not belong to the peasant class. It would be asked to go and live with the villagers so that they can learn from how people live their life in the paddy fields.
Thank you very much. I have no further questions, Mr. Krumso, and I wish you a good journey back home.
The President. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Witness. Your testimony is not yet complete, and we would like to adjourn this session, but we would like to hear your testimony again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Mr. Prumsu, as I already indicated, we are going to hear your testimony again tomorrow, and you are now invited to come back to the courtroom at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Court officer is now directed to assist with vessel to ensure that Mr. Prumsu is properly assisted during this adjournment and that he is returned to the courtroom by tomorrow at 9 a.m. And the Chamber wishes to inform the parties and the public that during these afternoon sessions, the Chamber will be hearing TCW 277 through video link where the witness is testifying from France. This session will commence from 1:30 p.m. until 5 p.m. Security personnel are now directed to bring Mr. Kilsompon to his holding cell and have him returned to the courtroom at 1:30. The court is adjourned.